Look at the distribution of global capital, the origin of dominant consumer software, and the location of top-ranked research universities, and a clear pattern emerges. Illuminating digital networks and commanding global finance, the United States is widely perceived as the ultimate, unrivaled superpower. This reputation stems from visible historical milestones. By planting a flag on the lunar surface, the United States demonstrated a level of scientific and exploratory capability that few other nations could approximate at the time. In his research, Professor Dr. Milton Biswas investigates whether this reputation for excelling in every category is an unvarnished reality or an overly simplified myth. Acceptance of total dominance requires ignoring foundational issues like extreme income inequality. Yet, dismissing American achievements entirely would mean ignoring a $26 trillion GDP and a near monopoly on high-level technological innovation. To understand America's actual global influence, we must examine the hard, often paradoxical evidence of how its core systems operate on the ground, moving past simple patriotic generalizations. The bedrock of this influence is a highly flexible capitalist framework supported by the global hegemony of the US dollar. Because the dollar acts as the primary reserve currency for global trade, the American government can run large fiscal deficits while keeping borrowing costs relatively low, creating a macroeconomic environment primed for relentless entrepreneurship. This high tolerance for financial risk flows directly into Silicon Valley. Venture capital firms structure their portfolios to absorb early-stage failures that conventional risk-averse economies would heavily penalize. They actively reward a fail-fast culture, betting entirely on aggressive, long-term market capture. The physical origin of this tech dominance began with early hardware innovations. The crude physical components of the first point-contact transistors laid the electrical foundation for modern microprocessors, moving computing from theoretical mathematics into scalable commercial reality. That initial hardware ecosystem provided the infrastructure for the software boom. It allowed companies like Google and Amazon to build massive internet monopolies, and it is the exact same hardware foundation currently powering the massive data centers driving the artificial intelligence revolution. This hyper-capitalist model is highly effective at transforming high-risk venture funding into globally dominant disruptive technologies. While Silicon Valley is the public face of innovation, its operational foundation is rooted in the country's decentralized higher education system. This flowchart visualizes how federal capital bypasses centralized control. Instead of a single academy, billions are distributed across a web of university research centers. This autonomy converts federally funded research directly into private startup patents and commercial spin-offs, dominating global output in biotechnology and AI. America's intellectual edge relies on this specific architecture, a deliberate cross-pollination between massive government capital, academic freedom, and private enterprise. There are heavy structural costs to this architecture. The exact mechanisms that drive wealth generation also guarantee economic volatility. Unregulated speculative excess and complex financial instruments are built into the DNA of Wall Street. When these mechanisms overextend, as they did during the Panic of 1929 and the 2008 financial crisis, they repeatedly trigger global economic collapses. The immediate human cost of this system's failure is stark. Rapid economic contractions create severe job displacement, wipe out savings, and widen income inequality across the working class. Today, those financial crashes mirror the vulnerabilities of the modern tech sector. The rapid scaling of digital monopolies creates severe ethical dilemmas, resulting in unchecked algorithmic bias, massive labor shifts, and the erosion of digital privacy. This duality of progress and inequality traces back to the nation's founding. The Enlightenment ideals that established American democracy were codified simultaneously alongside profound systemic exclusions. America's modern vulnerabilities are not unforeseen malfunctions. They are the direct, unavoidable byproducts of a national architecture built for high risk and high reward. Professor Dr. Milton Biswas characterizes American excellence as a fluid, contingent, and multifaceted phenomenon that shifts alongside global developments. This cyclical model tracks the nation's true advantage, institutional resilience. Historically, the American system absorbs massive economic shocks, recalibrates its regulatory frameworks, and redeploys its capital to trigger subsequent booms in entirely new growth sectors. That adaptability is about to be tested. The 21st century brings the race for artificial general intelligence and an environment of intensely escalating geopolitical competition. The nation's future survival depends heavily on whether its historical capacity to course correct can outpace current internal political polarization. Ultimately, the investigation confirms that while the nation does not excel in every category, its ability to stumble and relentlessly reinvent itself ensures it remains a vital force on the world stage.